had mentioned that you had taught yourself to read very early on. What?
Mhm.
How early on are we talking?
I don't know. I mean, as I said, I'm a third of four, and so my parents don't have many stories or details about my childhood. But I'm pretty sure I was like, I would say certainly by four, because I know when I went to kindergarten, I just turned five, and I was already like a good, I mean, I don't know what it means, like a decent reader and writer by that point. So it must have been, around four-ish, I think. So it sounds apocryphal now, but maybe, I don't know. uh, yeah, so I remember because my older sisters, they had these like learn to read books, and I sort of vaguely remember maybe I have been told that I would pick them up and just look through them on my own. And my father also read to us. My father was in academic publishing, so he was a real book person. And my mother also had a writing background. She was sort of an assistant to writers at a soap opera. So I had this house like full of books and people interested in, literature in some different regards. My father was more into history and my mother was into soap operas. But she always provided us with books and reading opportunities. So I was very lucky in that sense.
Well, that sounds like the perfect marriage. You get all of your factual information, plus the drama you're going to need to bring it to life.
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that answers lots of the questions I have about many points of me, but we'll
What is the analysis part of the yeah.
when do you start to gravitate toward children's fiction? I mean, obviously you looked at the two options and just Henry Holt happened to be the better immediately, but when did you say, oh yes, middle grade is going to be for me, or have you decided that? Is this a thing you're going to do and then next an adult novel and then maybe something else?
No, I'm committed to middle grade and children's, and I think it really happened. Well, I guess I would say, as I said earlier, my most wonderful time as a reader was as a middle grade reader. That feeling as an 8 to 12-year-old, that age group of just reading a book and feeling like you've discovered this amazing new world that is just for you, and the excitement of that, and just how immersed you get and pulled into these stories. And I remember I'd go to running to my mom and be like, you've got to read this book. It's the best book ever. She never would read them. And I'd leave them on her bedside table, like hoping she'd read them. But so I think that kind of set the stage early on that this was a really rich time of literature. And then I don't know that I don't think I thought about writing for children, even though a lot of my stories probably had, well, I was a child myself practically at 19, but I think when meeting Christy Ottaviano and working at Henry Holt and discovering that world from the publishing side is what sort of made me realize it was a viable option. And I think I still went on and tried to like write adult stories and be an adult fiction writer with the things I was working on. And then I think I was like 24 or so, and I moved back to New York, and I took my first class in writing for children with Amy Hest at NYU. And I guess at that point I had sort of decided, I think I was writing stories with children characters. And I think at that point, that's when I said, well, I want to write for children. And so I took an online class with Uma Krishnaswamy, who's amazing. It was probably one of the early days of online writing classes with writers.com before she was at VCFA. So then I started to really focus on that and decided I wanted to work in children's book publishing. And I've sort of toyed occasionally with an adult idea, but I just love this world, and I'm very committed to the world of children's books. And, I don't know, maybe I'd write an adult thing someday, but it's not necessarily what I'm interested in pursuing. I'm not looking at this as a stepping stone or anything like that. Some people might, but that's me.
I don't understand how that would work, although I'm sure there are authors that could explain it to me how a couple of middle grade books would be. And now, as you might expect, I'm going to go write romances.
Yeah, no, that happens sometimes.
But I do understand taking up multiple passions, and I don't just watch one type of movie or read one type of book. I like to. I write adult fiction as well as for children.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's fun to do a little bit of everything.
Yeah, I think sometimes I worry that my voice is a little adult in my middle grade. So to that end, maybe it would suit me to do that. But I'm sort of in this world now, and this is where I think I'd like to be, as long as they'll have me. Yeah.
Well, based on what I've read, I know you've got another book coming out. I think you're going to be around for quite a while. So I'm looking forward to our fifth and sixth conversation about the novels you're yet to write.